you look at your life and wonder why you're not where you thought you'd be by now, even after working hard and trying to improve yourself. What if the barriers keeping you stuck aren't actually what you think they are? In this video, I'll reveal 6 psychological traps backed by research that silently prevent 90% of people from reaching their potential, and how to escape them. I discovered these barriers when I spent years reading every self-help book, attending seminars and setting ambitious goals, but kept ending up in the exact same place. Research from Stanford and Harvard shows that most people fail not because they lack talent or effort, but because they're trapped in invisible mental patterns they don't even know exist. The problem is, most advice tells you to work harder when you're already working in the wrong direction. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which psychological traps are holding you back and how to break free. Let's dive in. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because the comfort zone works exactly opposite to how most people think. Everyone tells you to step outside your comfort zone, but here's what they don't tell you. Your comfort zone isn't actually keeping you safe. It's slowly shrinking every day you stay in it. The comfort zone paradox is the psychological phenomenon where avoiding discomfort today makes you less capable of handling discomfort tomorrow. Your tolerance for challenge doesn't stay constant. It atrophies like an unused muscle. Neuroscientist Dr. Gregory Burns from Emory University found that our brains are designed to minimize uncertainty and predict outcomes. When you repeatedly choose familiar paths, your brain strengthens neural pathways for safety-seeking behavior, while weakening your capacity for adaptability. This works because your amygdala, your brain's fear center, becomes increasingly sensitive to novelty the less you expose it to new experiences. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people who consistently avoid discomfort experience what psychologists call learned helplessness acceleration, where each avoidance makes the next challenge feel exponentially more threatening. It's not that challenges are getting harder, it's that your tolerance for difficulty is getting weaker. Think of it like staying in bed for months. When you finally try to walk, even standing feels impossible. First, identify your micro-avoidances, the small, uncomfortable actions you dodge every single day. This could be avoiding eye contact, not speaking up in meetings, or postponing difficult conversations. Write them down. These aren't random. They're training your brain to fear discomfort. Second, implement the 2% courage rule. Each day, do one thing that's just 2% more uncomfortable than yesterday. Not a giant leap, a tiny stretch. If you avoided a conversation yesterday, today you send a message. If you sent a message, tomorrow you make a call. Your brain adapts to gradual exposure without triggering the panic response that comes from massive leaps. Third, reframe discomfort as information, not danger. When you feel that tightness in your chest or that voice saying, "Not today," recognize it as your brain detecting growth territory. That feeling isn't a stop sign, it's a compass pointing toward your expansion edge. Fourth, track your discomfort wins. Keep a simple log of uncomfortable actions you took and what happened. You'll notice a pattern. 90% of what you feared never materialized, and the 10% that was genuinely hard made you measurably stronger. For instance, one client avoided public speaking for 15 years. We started with speaking up once in team meetings. 6 months later, he delivered a keynote to 500 people, not because he became fearless, but because his tolerance for discomfort expanded incrementally. Common mistake: trying to conquer your biggest fear immediately. That's not courage. That's shock therapy. Your brain will protect you by making that fear even larger. Start microscopic. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to build capacity. But that's not all. This next trap is even more insidious. Most people don't know this, but the very thing you think you're protecting is what's destroying you. The potential preservation illusion is a defense mechanism where you unconsciously avoid fully committing to your goals because staying potentially great feels safer than risking being actually mediocre. As long as you don't truly try, you can tell yourself you could have succeeded if you wanted to. It's the psychology student who never finishes their thesis, the entrepreneur who endlessly plans but never launches, the artist who has incredible ideas but never completes a single piece. Psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck's research at Stanford revealed that people with fragile self-concepts protect their ego by avoiding definitive tests of their ability. If you never truly try, you never truly fail, and you can preserve the fantasy that you're capable of greatness. This is why so many talented people underachieve, while less talented people who commit fully end up succeeding. Neuroscience shows that the anticipation of potential success activates the same reward centers as actual success. Your brain gets a dopamine hit from imagining your future achievements. Dr. Gabriele Oettingen from NYU found that people who spend excessive time fantasizing about success without taking action actually perform worse than people who don't fantasize at all. You're literally satisfying your brain's need for achievement through imagination, removing the motivation to achieve in reality. Here's the devastating part. Every year you protect your potential, you're not keeping it safe. You're letting it expire. Potential has a shelf life. First, conduct a brutal action audit. For each goal you claim is important, calculate what percentage of your last month was spent in genuine, risky action versus planning, learning, or preparing to be ready. If it's below 20%, you're stuck in potential preservation mode. Second, create what I call point-of-no-return commitments. These are public declarations or financial investments that make backing out more painful than moving forward. Tell 10 people your specific goal and deadline. Prepay for the business course. Register for the competition. Book the venue. The moment you create external accountability that threatens your ego if you quit, your brain shifts from protection mode to performance mode. Third, embrace the ugly first draft principle across all domains. Your first business will be messy. Your first speech will be awkward. Your first art will be rough. That's not failure. That's tuition. The only way to get from potential to actualization is through a phase of visible mediocrity. The people at the top aren't more talented. They're more willing to suck publicly while they develop. Fourth, set kill or commit deadlines. Give yourself a hard date. Either you launch this by X date, or you permanently abandon this goal and free your mental energy for something you'll actually do. No more someday. Someday is where dreams go to die. For instance, I had a book idea I'd been working on for 3 years. I set a 6-month deadline and told my audience, that book is now published. The deadline didn't make me more capable. It forced me to trade potential for reality. Common mistake. Waiting until you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Readiness is a feeling that comes after action, not before. The most successful people feel just as scared as you. They just don't let that stop them. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful that's secretly running your life. This next one is crucial, and it's the reason why willpower and discipline eventually fail everyone. Your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are, acts as a thermostat for your behavior. No matter how motivated you get, you'll unconsciously self-sabotage back to behaviors that match your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, you'll find ways to stay broke even when opportunities appear. If your identity is, I'm not a morning person, you'll hit snooze even when you genuinely want to wake early. This is the identity ceiling. You can't rise higher than your self-concept allows. Dr. James Clear documented this extensively. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. But here's the trap. It works in reverse too. Your brain seeks consistency between your beliefs and behaviors. Psychologists call this cognitive consistency theory. When your behavior contradicts your identity, your brain experiences discomfort and either changes the behavior or rationalizes it away. Research from the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that identity-based motivation is significantly more powerful than outcome-based motivation. People who changed their identity statement from "I want to quit smoking" to "I am not a smoker" had a 67% higher success rate. Why? Because "I want" suggests you're fighting against your nature, while "I am" aligns action with identity, eliminating internal conflict. The reason most people never reach their potential isn't lack of knowledge or effort. It's because their identity hasn't upgraded to match their ambitions. You're trying to build $1 million business while your identity is still, I'm not good with money. You're trying to get fit while your identity is still, I'm not athletic. It's like trying to run software that requires 16 gigabytes of RAM on a system that only has 4 gigabytes. It crashes every time. First, identify your limiting identity statements. Listen to how you complete the sentence, I am, especially after I am not. Write them all down. These are your invisible ceilings. Common ones, I'm not good with technology. I'm not a creative person. I'm an introvert, so I can't network. I'm just not disciplined. Second, use the evidence collection method to install new identities. You can't just declare, I am disciplined, when your entire history contradicts it. Your brain will reject it. Instead, start taking tiny identity-confirming actions. If you want to become a writer, write 1 sentence daily. That's it. Each day you do it, you collect evidence. A writer is someone who writes, I wrote today, therefore I am a writer. Your brain updates identity based on behavioral evidence, not aspirational declarations. Third, change your language immediately. Stop saying, I want to become, and start saying, I am becoming. Stop saying, I'm trying to be, and start saying, I'm the type of person who. This isn't just positive thinking. It's identity installation. When someone offers you a cigarette and you say, I'm trying to quit, you're identifying as a smoker who's struggling. When you say, I don't smoke, you're identifying as a non-smoker. That linguistic shift changes everything. Fourth, surround yourself with people who reflect your desired identity. Your identity is heavily influenced by your reference group. If everyone around you is broke, being broke feels normal. If everyone around you is building businesses, entrepreneurship becomes part of your identity. This is why masterminds and accountability groups are so powerful, not for the advice, but for the identity reinforcement. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, not just in behavior, but in identity. For instance, I identified as someone who isn't good on camera. For years, I avoided video content. Then I started a daily video challenge, just for me, not published. After 30 days, my identity shifted. I'm someone who makes videos daily. Once that identity locked in, creating content became effortless. The discipline didn't increase. The identity alignment removed the friction. Common mistake: trying to change behavior without changing identity. That's why New Year's resolutions fail by February. You're forcing yourself to act against your self-concept. Fix the identity first, and behavior follows naturally. This brings me to the next secret, and it's one most people never discover. Here's something even more powerful that most productivity advice completely misses. Everyone tells you to follow your passion and find your purpose. But here's the brutal truth. The search for perfect clarity is what's keeping you stuck. The clarity paradox states that you don't gain clarity through thinking and planning. You gain clarity through action and iteration. Waiting for the perfect path before you move guarantees you'll never move at all. Purpose isn't found. It's built through experimentation. Research by Stanford professor William Damon found that about 20% of people discover clear purpose in their teens or 20s. The other 80% develop it gradually through trying things, failing, adjusting, and discovering what resonates. Your brain cannot simulate experience accurately. You must gather real-world data. Neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman explains that dopamine, the motivation molecule, is released not when you think about goals but when you make progress toward them. The clarity paradox works because action generates feedback, feedback generates learning, and learning generates clarity. You're trying to figure out the entire chess game in your head before making move 1. Impossible. Masters don't plan 20 moves ahead. They make the strongest next move and adapt based on their opponent's response. There's a concept in Silicon Valley called the pivot. Almost no successful company is doing what they originally planned. Instagram started as a check-in app. YouTube started as a video dating site. Twitter was a podcasting platform. They gained clarity by launching imperfectly, seeing what worked, and iterating. Your life operates the same way. First, replace the question, "What's my purpose?" with "What's worth trying next?" Purpose is too big and abstract. Your brain freezes. But what's worth trying is actionable. Make a list of 10 things that spark even mild curiosity. Don't evaluate, just list. Now pick one, doesn't matter which, and commit to a 30-day experiment. No lifetime commitment, just a trial period. Second, use the 1-10-100 rule for decision-making. Spend 1 hour researching, 10 hours planning, and 100 hours doing. Most people inverse this ratio. They spend 100 hours researching and planning, 10 hours preparing, and 1 hour doing, then quit because it didn't work. That's not failure. That's not enough data. You need massive action volume, to gather clarity. Third, implement biased action. When you're 51% sure about a direction, that's enough. Move. You're never going to be 100% certain, and waiting for more certainty is just fear disguised as prudence. Jeff Bezos calls this disagree and commit. You don't need full conviction, just enough to take the next step. Clarity comes from the road, not the map. Fourth, create a confusion journal. Every time you feel lost or unclear, write down 3 specific experiments you could run this week to gather data about that confusion. Confusion isn't a problem to solve through thinking. It's a signal that you need more experience. Treat your life like a scientist treats a lab. Hypothesize, experiment, measure, adjust. For instance, someone asked me, should I quit my job to start a business? Wrong question. Better question. Can I start this business as a side project for 6 months to gather real data? They did. 3 months in, they discovered they hated the business model, but loved a tangent they stumbled into. That tangent is now their thriving company. They never would have found that clarity sitting in analysis paralysis. Common mistake, believing that successful people knew their path from the beginning. They didn't. They just refused to let uncertainty stop them from experimenting. Action creates clarity. Clarity doesn't create action. But wait, there's more to this, because this next trap might be the most dangerous of all. Most people don't know this, but you're competing in a game you'll never win. The invisible scoreboard is the unconscious comparison game you play every single day. You're measuring your Chapter 3 against someone else's Chapter 20. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes struggle to their highlight reel. You're judging your internal experience against their external facade. And because this scoreboard is invisible, you don't consciously realize you're playing. You can't opt out. It just drains your motivation and convinces you that you're falling behind, when you're actually right on track. Dr. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory explains that humans instinctively evaluate themselves against others. It's hardwired. But here's the trap. Social media and modern culture have weaponized this instinct. You're now comparing yourself not to your neighbor, but to the curated highlight reels of billions of people. And your brain interprets this as, everyone is winning except me. Research from the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day significantly reduced depression and loneliness. Why? Because you're not drowning in comparison data. Stanford professor Jennifer Aker found that people consistently overestimate others' happiness and success while underestimating others' struggles, creating a massive perception gap that makes you feel uniquely inadequate. Here's what they don't tell you. The people you're comparing yourself to are also comparing themselves to others and feeling inadequate. Everyone's running a race while looking sideways, and no one's winning. The only scoreboard that actually matters is, am I better than I was yesterday? That's it. That's the entire game. First, conduct a comparison audit. For 3 days, every time you feel inadequate, anxious, or behind, write down what triggered it. Social media, specific person, news. Identify your comparison triggers. Most people have 3 to 5 major sources. Once you see them, you can address them. Second, implement scoreboard blocking. Unfollow, mute, or remove access to your top comparison triggers for 30 days. This isn't permanent. It's an experiment. If someone's success makes you feel terrible about yourself, that's not inspiration. That's poison. You can re-engage later when your internal scorecard is stronger. Protect your mental environment as fiercely as you'd protect your physical health. Third, create your personal benchmark system. Define 3 to 5 metrics that actually matter for your life, not society's, yours. Maybe it's relationships depth, energy levels, creative output, financial freedom, daily joy. Each week, score yourself on these. Are you improving on your metrics? That's the only scoreboard that counts. You're not competing with anyone else. You're beating your previous best. Fourth, practice the everyone's on their own timeline meditation. When comparison hits, literally say this: their timeline is not my timeline. Their chapter 20 is not my chapter 3. I am exactly where I need to be to get where I'm going. Sounds corny? It works. You're reprogramming the automatic comparison reflex into timeline awareness. For instance, I used to torture myself watching peers launch successful courses while I was still figuring out my message. One hit 7 figures while I made $0. Comparison destroyed me. Then I realized he started 5 years before me. He had 5 years of failures, iterations, and learning I hadn't done yet. When I hit my 5-year mark, I surpassed his results, not because I was better, but because I stopped wasting energy on comparison and focused on my own growth. Different timelines, different journeys. Common mistake: using other people's milestones as your timeline. Someone made their first million at 25. Great for them. That has zero relevance to your path. Some people bloom early. Some bloom in their 60s. The only time that matters is, are you moving forward? Now, let's talk about the final trap. The one that ties everything together. This brings me to the final secret, and it's the one thing that changes everything once you see it. The permission delusion is the unconscious belief that you need someone else's approval, validation, or authorization before you can pursue what you want. You're waiting for the perfect mentor to tell you you're ready. You're waiting for the market to give you a sign. You're waiting for your family to support your decision. You're waiting for credentials, age, experience, or confidence. And while you wait, your potential expires. Here's the truth. No one is coming to give you permission. You are the authority on your own life. Psychologist Dr. Marisa Peer explains that most people's core wound is, I'm not enough. This creates a perpetual search for external validation to prove worthiness. Your brain believes that if someone important endorses you, then you'll finally be enough. But it's a trap, because enoughness can't come from outside. Every external validation provides only temporary relief before the hunger returns. Dr. Nathaniel Branden's research on self-esteem revealed that people with strong internal validation systems achieve significantly more than people dependent on external approval. Not because they're more talented, but because they don't wait. They self-authorize. While others are waiting for the invitation, they're already in the room building. Here's the shift that changes everything. You don't need permission to start. You need results to earn recognition. But you can't get results without starting. So you must give yourself permission. The gatekeepers you're waiting for, they gave themselves permission too. That's the only difference. No one handed them a golden ticket. They decided they were enough, and they moved. First, identify what you're unconsciously waiting for permission to do. Complete these sentences honestly. I would start X, if only. I'm waiting for. Once I have X, then I'll. These are your permission barriers. Write them all down. Now here's the hard question. What if that permission never comes? What if that person never validates you? What if you never feel fully ready? Then what? Second, conduct the permission experiment. Choose one thing you've been waiting to start and give yourself permission right now. Not in 6 months. Not after one more course. Now, create the website. Send the email. Record the video. Make the call. Start the project. Don't ask for feedback. Don't seek approval. Just begin. You're testing whether the world actually requires permission or whether you've been requiring it from yourself. Third, build an internal authority board. This is a mental construct. Imagine a board of directors that includes your wisest self, your values, and your future self who achieved your goals. When you face a decision, don't ask permission from external critics. Consult your internal board. What would your highest self do? That's your answer. External people advise. Internal authority decides. Fourth, practice radical self-authorization daily. Each morning say out loud, I am the authority on my own life. I give myself permission to pursue what matters to me. I don't need external validation to begin. This isn't arrogance, it's ownership. You're not saying you know everything. You're saying you're allowed to start anyway. The world doesn't give you permission. You take responsibility. For instance, I waited 3 years for someone to discover me and offer me a speaking opportunity. No one came. Finally, I booked a small venue, invited friends, and spoke anyway. No one gave me permission. I gave it to myself. That self-authorized talk led to an invitation to speak at a major conference. But the invitation only came after I stopped waiting for it and started without it. Permission is a retrospective reward, not a prerequisite. Common mistake, believing that successful people were chosen or anointed. They weren't. They chose themselves. They self-published. They self-funded. They self-promoted. They gave themselves permission when the world didn't. That's not ego. That's how it actually works. You are allowed to want what you want and pursue it fully. You don't need anyone's permission. Let's quickly review what we covered today, because understanding these traps is the difference between staying stuck and finally breaking through. Number 1. The comfort zone paradox. Your comfort zone shrinks when you avoid discomfort. Number 2. The potential preservation illusion. Protecting potential keeps you from actualizing it. Number 3. The identity ceiling. You can't rise above your self-concept. Number 4. The clarity paradox. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. Number 5. The invisible scoreboard. Comparing your chapter 3 to their chapter 20 destroys motivation. Number 6. The permission delusion. No one is coming to authorize your dreams. Remember, reaching your potential isn't about working harder or finding some secret hack. It's about recognizing the invisible psychological traps that keep you running in place. You have everything you need to break free right now. The only difference between someone living their potential and someone wondering what if is that one person recognized these traps and decided to stop playing those games. Don't wait until you're 60, looking back with regret, wishing you had started. Start with just one trap today. Pick the one that resonated most. Maybe it's giving yourself permission, or maybe it's building your identity through tiny actions. I promise you, 6 months from now, you'll look back shocked at how much was possible once you stopped sabotaging yourself with these invisible patterns. If you found this helpful, hit the @like button. It tells YouTube to share this with others who are stuck. Subscribe for more psychology-backed self-improvement content that actually works, not surface-level motivation. Drop a comment telling me which trap you recognized in yourself and what you're going to do about it today. And if you want to learn how to build unshakable discipline that doesn't rely on motivation, check out this video next. It's the perfect companion to breaking free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.